This is the future.
Before we start, I would like to congratulate Digital Extremes on their work with the 51st Warframe Voruna. They nailed it at launch, and I only can suggest a few tweaks on the wolf-inspired Warframe to make it better. First of all, her kit may seem complicated, but it's pretty simple and you can have dumb fun with all her abilities without the help of the Helminth system. Her first ability, Shroud of Dina, allows you to go invisible, and when you are in this state, you will be more agile because of the bonus that accelerates your movement speed. Once Voruna becomes visible, her melee weapon gains bonus critical damage multiplier, status chance bonus, and guaranteed /status effect per hit for a set amount of time. While the buffs are active, each subsequent melee kill extends the remaining duration of the bonuses. My only gripe about this buff is once you activate your first ability again, the buff on your melee weapon will be gone, and I'm hoping Digital Extremes will somehow make the buff not reset when you recast the ability. For me, this is Voruna's most reliable survivability, and sometimes, you will decide whether you will keep the buff or go invisible to survive. But that's just my opinion because I know Digital Extremes did this for balancing. Voruna is very lethal with a melee weapon, and extra buff for her while invisible is crazy. You can still take advantage of the melee buff for a couple of seconds, as there is a specific tanky setup that we will discuss on this video later. By the way, if you hold down the ability button to command Dina to guard Voruna, you will change her passive to a permanent parker velocity bonus for no energy cost. Her second ability is what makes her fun to play with the condition overload setup, or even a galvanized status chance mod, which can be equipped in your primary and secondary guns. Fangs of Ratch is a simple yet very helpful ability in boosting the damage of Voruna's attack. The Warframe will pounce an enemy, applying 5 random status effects at 10 stacks each on an enemy. On target's death, the status effects spreads to other nearby enemies. Take note that the status effects are random, so you don't have the option to override it. Sometimes, you get Slash and Heat, which turns the ability into an absolute nuker, and this is very good when paired with a mecha setup. Another great thing about this ability is that it pairs well with your first ability, since this will not turn off the cloak of your first ability, allowing you to be invisible while casting Fangs of Ratch. Also, holding down the ability button to command Ratch to guard Voruna will change her passive to a permanent status effect immunity for no energy cost, which is quite useful, and what I often use most of the time. It avoids knockdown, bleed, burn, and other damage over time effects which will kill your Warframe. Lastly, this ability synergies well also with her third and fourth ability. Enemies with 5 or more status effects when killed extends Lua'S Hunt's duration, while enemies with status effects receive increased damage from Ulfrun's Descent. Her third ability is called Lua'S Hunt, and what it does is give you a chance for enemies killed by melee attacks to drop health orbs and enemies killed by headshots to supply energy orbs. You can increase the duration of Lua'S Hunt by killing enemies affected by 5 or more status effects. This is a great tool for survivability and energy, but you might be intimidated with this ability, since it will require melee to get health orbs, and a gun headshot to get energy orbs. Well, I got a solution for that, Equilibrium mod, and we will discuss that on the build section. For now, let's discuss the final ability, Ulfrun's Descent. Oh yes, I almost forgot. Holding down the ability button to command Lua'S to guard Voruna changes her passive to a permanent 100% heavy attack efficiency bonus to her melee weapon for no energy cost. Additionally, this is the subsumable ability of Voruna for the Helminth system. However, subsumed Lua'S Hunt orb drop rate is reduced to 50% and cannot activate the passive. And last but not least, Ulfrun's Descent, which Voruna drops to all 4s and prepares 5 brutal charges that lock onto enemies. Ulfrun, the most powerful wolf, leads the attack as Voruna dashes toward her target. The pack deals increased damage to targets and nearby enemies that are inflicted by status effects. Lethal attacks double the damage of Voruna's remaining charges. Each charge lunges Voruna toward her victim over 30 meters and can be extended by range mods, inflicting knockdown, slash damage and status effect to the primary target while staggering and damaging nearby enemies. All enemies to receive additional slash damage per second. Enemies inflicted with status effects receive % bonus damage from Ulfrun's Descent. Each successful kill by Ulfrun's Descent doubles the damage of the next lunge. Hold down the ability button to command Ulfrun to guard Voruna, changes her passive for no energy cost to a single charge of invulnerability that prevents Voruna from entering bleed out state from the next lethal hit, rendering her invulnerable for 3 seconds and restoring 100% of her shields and health. Ulfrun's passive undergoes a 60 seconds cooldown once triggered. The best part about this is that you can use this ability also while invisible, and it does not break the first ability, which opens the window to a Mecha Voruna setup. The Mecha mod's bonus that applies the status that killed a target is pretty good when paired with Voruna's second and final ability. The idea is, you pounce the enemy targeted by your dog with your second ability, then lunge at the target using your fourth ability. The second ability will proc status, and if you are lucky, then it can proc both slash and heat. Then if not, just choose your final ability to lunge and inflict devastating slash damage to it and kill the target, spreading the status chance with your second ability, and as well as the Mecha mod set. If you want to test it out, then here is my suggested build. However, be wary that this build is only for fun in normal Steel Path and don't use it in Steel Path Fisher and Beyond level cap. It's not meant for those types of missions because it is somehow slow in terms of killing a lot of enemies. Although it looks kind of fancy seeing enemies die with damage over time, but still, it's slow and not that reliable because dogs in this game are dumb in marking targets. They are also slow in marking targets, making it not that reliable. The most fun build I have for Voruna is this, while wielding a fast attack melee condition overload weapon. I don't get your build, squad leader. It looks nonsense. Okay, let me explain. First of all, I put a lot of survivability on this build through damage reduction with armor and adaptation, plus using the brief respite aura for shield gating. The armor I have from Arcane Guardian plus the bonus coming from Umbral mods combines well with adaptation to give me decent damage reduction on health. But before the enemies can even damage my health, they will need to bypass the 1 second invulnerability first with the shield gating mechanic coming from brief respite, and the lowered shield from the decaying dragon key I have on my gear wheel. Shield gating be the first layer of defense, while the damage mitigation will be my safety net. Voruna's abilities are fast casting, allowing you to take advantage of the shield gating mechanic, and also, her second ability will give you invulnerability while traveling to your target, just like what Excalibur's slash damage do. Now, we all know that shield gating mechanic requires spamming abilities, and this requires a lot of energy efficiency. For this build, the answer to that is the Equilibrium mod, which converts every health orbs dropped from killing enemies with your melee to energy. With this mod, you will gain constant health regen and energy regen with Voruna almost every time. The best part is, you can use Shroud of Dina every time with this setup, allowing you to reposition, or escape sticky situations. For now, this is the best build I can suggest for Voruna without tapping into the power of the Helminth system. In case you are wondering about the melee I'm using, then it's the dual Gears Prime with the condition overload fast attack setup. I've tried heavy attack builds like the Glaive Prime Throw, and even the Struffer, but I just like fast attack weapons with Voruna since she becomes more agile and it's faster to kill enemies. Another thing that I would like to thank Digital Extremes is the addition of the Void Shell skin for Voruna. I just hope that every Warframe has this type of skin at launch, and honestly, aesthetics may not be game-changing, but it sure is fun to play with style. This is the first time I have enjoyed a Warframe this year without the help of the Helminth system, and I'm pleased to say that Voruna is one fun Warframe to play with. Voruna's main and component blueprints can be obtained from Rotation C of Conjunction Survival Uvarium and Circulus on Lua'S. Alternatively, they can be purchased from Archimedian Yonta with Lua'S Plasm. Each component requires 75, while the main blueprint requires 125, totaling to 350 Lua'S Plasm. Go get the wolf-inspired Warframe now, and have fun playing it. Thank you so much for watching. Squad Leader signing off.